Chatterfang Squirrel General versus Marisi Breaker of the Coil, Sisay Weatherlight Captain, and Syr Konrad the Grim. This video is dedicated to Antonio Rouse. Antonio, thank you. Decent opening hand for us, some ramp. I like the Bitter Blossom with the Toski. Hopefully we can keep the fairies in play long enough. Just a tap land for Internet Random, up against GoGo, a patron of the channel as you all know, Scotty027, a patron of the channel as well. Huge thank you to both of them for supporting. Let's get the tapped Snow land into play here. A Boros land over here, Pain land, and an Elvish Mystic for the Naya player. Now, if we get into a land here, it actually changes things. Yeah. I want to get down the Bitter Blossom as soon as possible. But if we get into a land next turn, we'll have 3 lands and Arcane Signet. Then we can go Sky Shroud Claim and Bitter Blossom and we're only a turn behind. Yeah, that's probably the most sensible play, even though I want to get Bitter Blossom going as quickly as possible. Worst case scenario, we don't get into a land next turn and we just go Bitter Blossom and we've only lost out on 1 fairy. And it's Vartal, Betrayer of Kjeldor for Marisi, which is going to be really good with the Toski for us. And they got down Avacyn's Pilgrim as well, down to 4 cards in hand over there. Let's see if we get into a land this turn. Yeah, we don't, so could have just gone for the Bitter Blossom last turn, but obviously we didn't know that. Got a lot of 4-drops in hand, so very much hoping for a Sky Shroud Claim next turn. Relentless Rats, so looks as though this is a Syr Konrad the Grim Relentless Rats deck. That's a really interesting variant of it. Be interested to see what Scotty's done with this deck. There is a Relentless Rats deck on the channel that I played a couple of times. It is a green and black variant though. Now Oath of Ajani for Sisay, which suggests that this is a Superfriends deck. This is just a generic tokens version, by the way, as the cards in our hand suggest. This isn't the Squirrel version. And there is an Aurum Frostfang, so the Naya player going all out here. Anyway, Bitter Blossom is triggering here, so let's see if we get into a land. If we don't, then we can go for our Chatterfang. Yeah, it feels pretty bad because I'd like to have gone for Chatterfang here. There's Chittering Witch. How much mana are we going to have next turn? We're going to have 6 mana, maybe 7 if we get into a land again, so then we could go Chittering Witch and Chatterfang. Going a little bit slower than I'd like, but we'll go for the ramp. So we'll get the remaining dual lands into play and just pass the turn at that, I think. And it's another Relentless Rats for the mono black player, still 6 cards in hand. A couple of bounce lands in play there. Subira Tulzidi Caravana now. And then they went for the activation there. Another target creature with power 2 or less can't be blocked this turn. And they did it on the Avacyn's Pilgrim. So we get the 2-3 that's just come into play this turn. And then GoGo gets the Varchild, the Elvish Mystic, and he gets the Aurum Frostfang, and then Scott gets the Avacyn's Pilgrim. So a decent number of cards are going to be drawn here. I think I'll give him 1 less card. And we'll block there and get rid of the Fairy Rogue. So the Aurum Frostfang will trigger 3 times there, and the Varchild will give some tokens. Now luckily the survivors can't block, so the artwork on that's awesome. Getting Sephiroth vibes from that. But yeah, they obviously can't block, so that is good against the Planeswalkers. They won't be able to use these as chump blockers. Bitter Blossom continuing to trigger. And here's hoping for a land. No land. Not getting the exact draws that we want here, unfortunately. Well, let's go for Chatterfang. And it looks as though we're just... do we get Zulaport out while we've got the chance, or do we wait to drop it into a sack outlet and a bunch of creatures? I think I'll just hold up the Assassin's Trophy. I don't think I'm going to use it, but we'll hold it up anyway. And there we had ourselves a Foreboding Fruit. Draw 2 and lose 2. And they made a food token because they put 3 black mana into that. They do have an Urborg in play now as well, which might be relevant against us because we do have a Cabal Coffers in the deck. And a Forbidden Orchard is going to start making tokens as well, all this token production, and I doubt anyone's going to give it to us thanks to the Chatterfang. Pretty bad for us though. Oh, and there's a Wrath of God, so being sure to tap down the Forbidden Orchard before going for the Wrath of God. Yeah, feels bad casting my commander into that. I said this in the last game, our meta seems to be very removal heavy, and playing any kind of creature based deck, which I really find fun in Commander, just, yeah, it's not really the type of thing that you can play thanks to having a load of board wipes and spot removal, but hopefully we'll be able to outlast all of that being cast. 3 visits from the Naya player. And after the board wipe, that clears the way for Marisi to come into play. Alright, so Evolutionary Leap. I'm missing lands here, and I really want to be taking advantage of the fact that we're ahead on lands, but let's just get the Chatterfang out again. Relentless Rats with different art, that is inexcusable. You have to have the art matching. Tisk tisk. Another spirit being given to Scotty, and Oath of Teferi is going to have to get an Assassin's Trophy onto it, I imagine. Anyway, they flicker the Oath of Ajani. Green Sun Zenith, where X is 5 from the Mardu player, allows him into a Toski of his own. So he's going to draw a card here, assuming that this swings in, and you would assume it does. And going in towards Go-Go, not likely to goad any of his creatures, but probably just trying to knock him out as quickly as possible before the Super Friends stuff gets going. So, round to our turn, and wow, still not hitting lands. So maybe it's just Sakura Tribe Elder here. And then just for the sake of having it in play, I'll go for Evolutionary Leap as well. And then I do have Forest Walk, so this doesn't have Trample, does it? There's no forest here yet, although it's only a matter of time. We do have the Yavimaya land in here as well, so we can make everything a forest. But I too am scared of the Planeswalkers, so let's go in at Go-Go there as well, show some solidarity with the Naya player. Another Relentless Rats, and still 7 cards in hand, impressively. And there's an Eye Collector, that's a fairy with flying, a 1/1. When it deals combat damage to a player, each player mills a card, so no doubt in there to trigger the Conrad. Shocking in a breeding pool, so he does now have a forest in play, so we can attack either of these 2 players freely with the Chatterfang. And still a decent amount of mana floating. I'm just going to go for the Assassin's Trophy now onto this. They might be able to go straight into another Planeswalker thanks to getting a land into play. Successfully getting rid of that. Throwing Sisay, Weatherlight Captain, into play now as well. They are going to be able to untap some lands with Garrick. And probably activate the Sisay. Sisay is a 4/4, by the way. So I think the ganging up on Go-Go is... yeah, I think it's justifiable here. Activating their Sisay. And that is an Aminatu the Fate Shifter, so now exiling the Garrick and then bringing it back into play immediately. Just knocked a loyalty counter off it, but they can go for the plus again, so potentially going to change some stuff off here. Going for the Orzhov thing. I'm really glad that we got rid of the Oath of Teferi. Argument to be made for us getting rid of the Garrick instead, but obviously we weren't to know what they were actually going to do here. Activating Sisay again. And it's an Ashiok they went for here, so making a 2/3 Nightmare token with that, and this is the one that exiles the top cards of your library. So let's see if the Naya player has anything to say about all this. Spirit on Dahl. Target creature gains Shadow until the end of the turn, so they can make their commander unblockable here. And I'll definitely be going in at Go-Go. His life total's so low that we might be able to ignore some of the Planeswalkers. If we all gang up on him, that is. And there's Shalai, Voice of Plenty, giving hexproof to himself, Planeswalkers and other creatures. So their commander swinging in at Garrick, which can't be blocked. And the Toski coming in towards us. We will do the blocking with Sakura Tribe Elder and sacrificing it trick. We have mixed up the basics and snow basics as well, by the way, because obviously in a token deck, Field of the Dead is going to do some good stuff for us. And it will trigger now. If we manage to draw into a Field of the Dead, Bitter Blossom triggering for the first time with Chatterfang in place, so we get both a Fairy Rogue and a Squirrel. All for 1 life. Okay, Sylvan Library. I am really not liking the fact that we're not managing to get into any lands here. I think it might be time to finally just throw down the Toski. And then we can maybe make a land this turn. Although I think I'm only going to hit my opponent with the Chatterfang. We could deal 11 damage to them with the Flyers and the Chatterfang if we get into Thunderfoot Baloth, but then we won't have any mana held up for anything else. Yeah, missing the lands has really hurt this game. I'm just going to go for the Toski here. And we'll leave the Ashiok in play for now. The Fairies can get rid of the Aminatu, and the Chatterfang can go straight in at go-go. So we land a hit on our opponent, which means Toski will draw us, and here's hoping it's a land. Alright, finally getting into one of those. I'll hold on to the shuffle effect on that, because I think we're just getting down the Sylvan Library here. Yeah, oh, and we've got the Urborg in play anyway, so we can tap this down for mana regardless. I was just thinking if we want to get down the Zulaport Cutthroat. I think we do. Don't think I necessarily care about the Evolutionary Leap holding that up. Although we could refill our hand with it. Well, we definitely want the Sylvan Library in play. Yeah, I think I'll just hold on to Evolutionary Leap then. Yeah, I'm hoping that there's not going to be a board wipe. If we get down Zulaport Cutthroat, it'll be 7 creatures of ours that die in a board wipe. So we won't take out Go-Go with it anyway. I think I'd rather take advantage of the card advantage with the Evolutionary Leap, so we'll just pass at that. And if there's no board wipe on this next turn, then I think it's time to get down the Parallel Lives and finally start making use of that. Another Relentless Rats for Scott. Okay, this Nightmare's swinging in, so I smell a board wipe incoming. We each exile the top 2 cards of our library. So it's a land and a Foulmire Knight there, a Farseek and an Iroas over here, and then for us, they got rid of a 3 visits from us, and Blood Artist would have been nice, but they're not lands, amazingly. And it is us that they are attacking. I think we'll just block there. I don't think there's anything that they can do during attacks. They're not going to give it Wither or anything, I wouldn't have thought. So we'll just jump with the Toski, keep as many creatures as we can. I just think they're going to wipe the board here. Yep, they're Zooging the Spirit Dragon, so exiling... that includes our Toski. Includes Evolutionary Leap and the Sylvan Library as well. It at least wouldn't have affected... or the Zulaport Cutthroat wouldn't have triggered with this, so... yeah, glad that we didn't throw that down. Yeah, just -4 on that, I think. So we'll sacrifice the Toski. I don't think we're going to be reanimating Toski, but I like having the option of that, so we'll get rid of the Toski with the Evolutionary Leap. Get ourselves into an Ophiomancer, which is really good with the Evolutionary Leap, actually. And then we'll just sacrifice this Fairy token. Oh, a Beladros Witherbloom. I think we can afford that as well. Yeah, we've got 8 mana, so I think I'm definitely going to go in for the Beladros next turn. Probably the Parallel Lives as well. Then making another token with the Ashiok. The Naya player gets Marisi into play again. And throws down a Llanowar Elves as well. So for us, we get into an Ancient Tomb, which is really nice. Make up for a little bit of lost time here. I bet our commander costs a hell of a lot now. That is 6 and 7. So how's about we go for the Beladros and then untap everything. Gonna go down a decent chunk here, but I think it's gonna be worth it. We'll tap this mana down before we untap any of our mana. Pay 10 life to untap all the lands we control. And then it is Ancient Tomb, knocking us down to 20. And we've got the Parallel Lives in, so I think we're okay to go for our Chatterfang again. It'll probably get shot by the Ugin though. And I really don't want to be casting it again. Maybe just the Ophiomancer to tempt our opponent away from doing that. It'd be nice to have a sack outlet with Ophiomancer though. Maybe Chittering Witch is the way to go. Yeah, we'll go for Chittering Witch here, and then we can sacrifice a creature and give something -2/-2. And then if we manage to keep a bunch of tokens in play, I'll go for the Zulaport Cutthroat. Losing the Toskies really hurt us because that was our means of card draw. But I think we will leave it like that and just hold up Chittering Witch. And then we're getting pests during every upkeep, of course. We'll get 2 of those thanks to the Parallel Lives. No prizes for guessing. Another Relentless Rats for Scotty, who is struggling on mana this game, unfortunately. Spark Harvest as well. Destroy a target creature or planeswalker. Sacrifice a creature or pay 4 additional for that. So for 1 mana, getting rid of the Ashiok. That's nice. Because they would have got the -7 on that next turn. So now we just have to deal with the Ugin as it stands. I think our next turn might be Thunderfoot Baloth and not Go-Go out though. See if he's got yet another board wipe for us. A Mystic Retrieval. Return an instant or sorcery from graveyard to hand. And please don't be... of course it is. The Wrath of God. That also has flashback, so they'll be able to grab it back again. The Zulaport Cutthroat wouldn't have taken them out anyway, and they can always shoot it before they go for the Wrath of God anyway. That is going in at the Naya player. And we have lost ourselves a Gaia's Cradle, a Spawning Pit. There is a Mangara and a land gone down here to the exile, and then a land and Blood for Bones here. Deciding to double block. There's going to be a Wrath anyway, so they might as well encourage less damage to go through. So there we see the Wrath of God. All the creatures going to go down. We will gain some life from the pest tokens though. And then the plus going on to the Naya player, so that will be 3 damage, taking him down to 33. So with 7 cards in hand, hopefully the Naya player can do something hasty. Nope, just going for a Smothering Tithe. So the Ugin may well get the limit break off if it keeps seeing board wipes while it's in play. Selvala, Explorer Returned coming into play, will draw us all cards, which does include Go-Go, so yeah, don't necessarily love the idea of that. Okay, so we get into Mazarek. Which is a flyer. Yeah, we don't have a sack outlet. We're missing haste, we're missing a sack outlet. And we've only got 10 mana available to us, because otherwise we could go Chatterfang and Thunderfoot Baloth. It might just have to be Thunderfoot Baloth. And we'll go Ophiomancer as well. Pretty much just playing into board wipes and removal at this point. We will get 2 snake tokens from the Ophiomancer next turn at least. Finally getting into some mana. That is a Soul Ring for the black player. Turn 10 and only 4 lands in play. And seeing Syr Konrad the Grim for the first time, so hopefully if that stays in play long enough, it'll be able to ping Go-Go to death. Now it is the infamous Eerie Ultimatum in the Superfriends decks, returning pretty much all their permanents from graveyard straight into play. That does include the Oath of Teferi, Garruk Wildspeaker, the Aminatu. Yeah, they've got double triggers on Ugin, or double activations on Ugin. Yeah, it's probably Go-Go's at this point. So Oath of Teferi comes into play. They are just flickering a swamp with that, and then they'll get, like I said, the double activations on their planeswalkers here. So first, untapping lands with the Garruk, and then casting Sisay, Weatherlight Captain. Then untapping lands again, and activating the Sisay, Weatherlight Captain. And they decided to go for the Nicol Bolas Dragon God, so that's got all the abilities of all planeswalkers in play. So with that, they draw a card, and each opponent exiles a card from the top of their library or their hand. So with that, they go for you draw a card, each opponent exiles a card from their hand or a permanent they control. I will just get rid of a snake here. That is the +1 from the Nicol Bolas Dragon God proper, by the way. A Cry of the Carnarium gone down here. And here it was Humble Defector. Ashiok bouncing a permanent, they are bouncing the Smothering Tithe. Then flickering the Garruk, so no doubt wanting to make more mana with this. They did that with the Aminatu, now ticking it down again and flickering the Ashiok this time. And then using the second ability from the Nicol Bolas, so now they can flicker the Aminatu, and as far as I can tell, they can just flicker things forever and get infinite loyalty abilities. So Ugin will bolt the Selvala, and yeah, that player just decides to scoop because the problem with the Planeswalker decks is that they take forever and a day to win with. I was thinking of doing Karth the Lion again because that was a pretty popular game, and yeah, I just haven't brought myself to do it yet. I mean, there's the Dungeons and Dragons set to get through yet, but I'll play that deck again if anyone wants to see it, but it just plays out like this. You have to play board wipes, lots of them, in Superfriends decks. The Chain Veil comes out again. And then, like I said, it just takes forever and a day to actually win, so hopefully it doesn't feel too bad for all of you once it's been edited, but it is a bit of a grind to play with and against. Chain Veil being activated. So for anyone who doesn't know, for each Planeswalker you control, you can activate its loyalty abilities once as though they hadn't been activated. Aminatu flickering the Garruk. And now flickering the Chain Veil. Untapping some lands. Activating Chain Veil again. And if the statistics on YouTube are anything to go by, you've probably all flicked off by now because you assume that GoGo is going to win, as do I. So I'm just going to fast forward from here, and hopefully you can all still tell what is going on with the abilities that are going on the stack. I'll just fast forward it here and save myself a whole bunch of time. Oh, okay, I just went AFK and I came back to this. I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure how he won there. Maybe GoGo just decided to scoop. So like I said, this was a redo of the Chatterfang deck, a generic tokens deck. Didn't really get to see it because of all the removal and board wipes and stuff. Like I said, our meta has just turned into remove everything for the first 10 turns and then hopefully you can actually get something through. If you want to see more of Chatterfang and this deck, then be sure to let me know, and leave it a thumbs up and subscribe if you did enjoy the video. I'm tribalkai on the EDH channel. Thank you for watching.